Okay, everybody, welcome to today's session. My name's Emma. Today I'm going to take you through the basics of Newforma Project Centre. To provide a bit of insight into what Newforma Project Centre is and does, we'll kick off today's session just by running through a really brief PowerPoint presentation. So first up, we'll take a look at some of the reasons that you might want to use Newforma Project Centre and some of the benefits that you will gain when you do use it. One of those benefits is going to be or include being able to locate your project information with greater speed and action that information more efficiently using those tools that Newforma will offer you. You'll also gain the ability to easily track project items, including whose tasks have been assigned to, the status of those tasks and when they're due. You'll be able to view a full audit trail on any project information that you've shared via the Info Exchange web component of Newforma, including the ability to view whether people have downloaded what you've shared or whether they haven't. So these types of features are going to increase the transparency on your project and generate accountability amongst the project team. Newforma is also going to integrate your project information and your project management data. So this works by providing just one location for you to view and manage all your project related information, from your emails, PDFs and drawings to your RFIs, variations and contracts. Now, with this integration, you'll then just have one point of access to view all of that information that relates to your project, and it will enable you to really optimize your project performance. Managing your project information is, of course, going to include managing your project emails. So Newforma makes it really easy for you to file your emails to your project, and then enables you to rapidly search, locate, and retrieve those emails. So this quote featured here is just from one of our customers who has gained huge value from that feature alone. Newforma is also going to enable you to share information. So regardless of where you're working, you'll be able to share files and collaborate with your project team, including any external consultants. And you'll also be able to view and manage all your project information when you're out of the office. So today we will run through the basics of getting started with Project Centre. We will look at the search feature and how you can use the indexing capability to rapidly locate and retrieve your project information. And we're going to take a brief look at viewing and marking up documents. And finally, we'll go through filing and finding your project email. So before we get started, did anybody have any questions that I can address for you before we jump right into the software? No? No. All right. We'll get right in there then. Here we go. Okay, so what you're looking at on the screen right here is my virtual machine. I'm currently logged in as Howard Rourke, who is an internal user. And you can see right here I've got my Newforma Project Centre icon right here on the desktop. Double clicking on that will open up Newforma, and this is what you'll see each and every time you open Newforma. The first thing that you'll notice is that there are two tabs showing up the top, one listing all projects and one that's named My Projects. By default, you'll find yourself in your My Projects tab. This tab will show a list of projects that's unique to each user. There'll be projects that you're currently assigned to or frequently working on, and it's going to operate just like a list of favorites. In addition to this, any projects that you have listed in your My Projects tab will appear in Outlook to assist you with filing your project email. You'll also be able to access any project on this list via your mobile apps if you're using them. So there's a few key features that are enabled when you add projects to this list here. If we flick across to all projects, in this tab we can view all of the projects that your company has being managed by Newforma. So from here you can go ahead and scroll right through that list to locate some projects that maybe you might like to add to your favorites. So once you've located a project that you want to add, go ahead and select it, right click, and scroll down to Add to My Projects. Now, notice when I do right click right now, you can see all of these options here are actually replicated over here in the Tasks panel. So just go ahead and use whichever method works best for you. Okay, cool. So now that that project's added, I can go ahead and locate another project. If I have a really long list, it's probably not going to be all that efficient to scroll through them all, but you'll notice at the top of each column there's this blank field with a little funnel icon. And in here you can enter in some more specific information about the project that you're looking for. So if, for example, I knew the type of project that I'm working on is an office project, I can select on my funnel, click to add the office filter, and that will refine my list to only show that type of project. If I also then know, say, the name of that project, I can begin typing that into the blank field there, and it's going to start to refine that list as I type. So again, select, right-click, add to my projects. Very simple and straightforward for you there. Now, if I then from here wanted to get back to my complete list, I can very simply remove all of those filters by clicking on this little X in the top right corner to return to my full list there. So now that we've added a couple of projects, we can flick back to my projects and we can see that they're now part of our favorites list here. Any questions on adding a project to your My Projects list? No, all pretty straightforward. All right, cool. So from there, double clicking on a project is going to take you into the project home. Newforma collates your project information on a project specific basis. So all of these activity centers and tasks that you access in your project home relate solely to that project that you've selected. So you'll be able to view all your project related information using these different activity centers. So first up, we're going to take a look at project files. Now, project files has been intentionally designed to look very similar to Windows Explorer. The familiar environment works to consolidate all sources of your project information. So that might be on an EDMS system, it might be on multiple file server locations like you can see we have here. And it consolidates them all into the one window so you can view them efficiently and manage those files efficiently from that one location. Now these are not copies of your files and folders. What you see right here are all of those files and folders that exist on your own server. So basically you're sort of just viewing Windows Explorer looking through Newforma eyes. So your project files provide the same functionality as you get with Windows Explorer. You can see here I've got all of my Explorer tasks are still available to me. But the benefit of accessing your project files using Newforma is that you also get access to additional functions on top of that. So you can see I also have the ability to search, I can compare files and folders, I can share files and folders using Intro Exchange, among many other additional functions that I get there. So Newforma indexes your files, including your emails and email attachments and everything, and enables you to rapidly search and locate your project information regardless of where it resides. So it doesn't really matter which folder you save to or even which project, you'll still be able to locate that information really simply and efficiently. So as with Windows Explorer, I can go ahead and I can navigate to where my files are located and access them that way, or I can really simply use the search functionality, which takes advantage of that indexing. So the search functionality is one of Newforma's strongest features, and you'll notice in the top right-hand corner here we have a search field. Right in here I can enter in any generic terms such as concrete and hit enter to initiate that search. Newforma is then going to locate every single file that contains that search term and generate a list of results, as you can see here. And almost immediately that's found 789 results. So these are file types or results of all different file types. Within your list you might have emails, you might have drawing files, PDFs, and you can see that I've got this drop down here that enables me to filter on a particular file type. So if I knew I was looking for emails per se, I could go ahead and select that to only show those emails which contain my search term. Again, in this same screen as we had earlier, we have those filters at the top of each column. I can go ahead and select on any one of those and add in additional information. So maybe I'm looking for a DWG file in this instance. I can add that filter in. Maybe I also know something about the year of this file. I can go ahead and add that in and very quickly and easily reduce my initial 789 results down to a much more manageable 8. So it becomes really efficient for you to start to locate all of that project information. So now that I've got my list here, double clicking on any of those files will open it using the built-in Newforma viewer. Now the viewer is going to open up drawing files, PDFs and image files in this manner by default. However, the other file types that we can read and index that appear on that list, they're going to open up using the native software. Now within your viewer, the first thing to notice here is this list of instances over here on the left. Selecting any one of these will zoom right in on that term and highlight the context so that you can really rapidly locate that search term within your CAD file. This is because I've got the zoom to selection checked. You can always uncheck that if you wish. You also have the ability to go ahead and select all matches on the current page, and that's going to highlight every single instance of that search term for you on the page. Now, if per se I have closed my drawing Explorer there, I can always access that again by selecting on my binoculars from the top menu bar up here. And from here, maybe now that I've located this particular file, maybe I have a query that sort of relates to the slope of a concrete slab in this particular instance. To accompany my question, and maybe would like to do a quick markup of this drawing, I can go ahead and zoom right in to where that slab is located on this particular plan. And I can do that either by using my middle mouse button to zoom right in and holding that middle mouse button down to drag and pan. Or I also have access to a full suite of navigation tools right here in the top menu bar. So from there, I also have access to a full suite of markup tools. So in my viewer tasks, you'll see I have the option to mark up drawing, and that's going to bring up all of those tools. All of the types of tools that you might expect to find within a markup suite are included. So right here we've got a couple of different clouding options. The first being a simple freehand drag and cloud to enclose that information that you wish to include or highlight. If I then wanted to delete any of those markups from there, I can go ahead and select and hit the delete key to remove that. The second clouding option is a very simple click and drag to enclose information, so a 2-point click and drag. Very simple and straightforward. Maybe from there I might like to add in a call out with some text. I can add my little arrow in and a little note. And after that, if I want to access some additional formatting tools, I can right click on my note here to bring up additional options such as, you know, changing the text alignment, maybe adding a leader, or maybe I want a shape to be surrounding that note. You've got some formatting options there available to you. So now that I've completed my markups, I've got a few different options as to what I do with those. The first being I can use the icon in the top menu bar here to create or send a PDF. Selecting this option is going to PDF this entire page inclusive of the markups. A second option is to plot a hard copy using the printer icon right here. Or another option is to use this icon with the envelope to take a quick screenshot and send that off in an email in the one click. So what that's going to do is start a draft email within my email client. So we can see my Outlook is flashing. If I pull that up, you can see that all this information has been pulled across from the file that I'm marking up, so that all I need to do is really hit enter in a recipient. My file there is already attached and ready to send off with my markups. So I'll enter in some recipients, and then I can go ahead and send that. Now, instead of using the regular send button in this instance, I'm going to go ahead and use this send and file in project button. So this enables me to both send that email as well as file it back to the project automatically. The system here is just confirming which project that I want to file that to. By default, because I'm in the Alpen Grove project, it's going to select that, but I can overwrite that and choose any other project that I might like to file this back to. And all I need to then do is go ahead and hit OK. So that's sent the email off to my recipients, filed that email directly back into my project. So it's a really great method that you can use to streamline the process. You can use your search functionality to rapidly locate that file, open it in your viewer, mark it up, and then do a quick snapshot and send it off to your to your reviewer or your recipient. So the last option of action that you can do with your markup here is you can save a markup session by selecting the little floppy disk in the top menu bar here. So that's going to basically enable me to revisit this markup at a later date or to collaborate on it with another team member. I'm just waiting for my connection to catch up. Sorry, just a moment.
We'll just wait a sec, see if she's reconnecting. We'll look at
Sorry about this, it's just reconnecting. There we go.
Yeah, you're back. You were going up to the save option on the floppy disk.
Okay, so apologies about that. That's the internet connection just catching up with the VM. So the little floppy disk in the top menu bar there is going to pull up the option to save a markup session. So that's going to enable you to revisit that markup at a later date or collaborate with another team member on it. All you really need to do is add in any remarks, any additional information that you wish to, and hit OK. So now that we've saved that, if I quickly flick back to our Newforma Project Center and I refresh this view here, you'll notice that there's now a little icon in the related items column of this particular file, and that's indicating to me that there's an associated markup to this file. That's going to be viewable by the entire project team, so everyone's going to be aware that there's associated markups there. And from your task panel over here on the left, you can also go ahead and review any of those markup sessions that might be related to that file. So that's a handy tool as well for you. Now, at this point, it is important to note that as opposed to Adobe or Bluebeam, the markups that you do perform on your files here using the Newforma viewer, they're not embedded. They're merely going to be saved as an overlay to your original file. So if you saved your markup session just like we have now and then you opened that file, you're not going to see those markups. The markups live only within Newforma. Is there any questions on the viewer or the markups? No?
No, I think we're right, Emma. Can you also send that as an action item to someone?
Yeah, there's a few additional additional functionality that you can go ahead and use within the viewer. You can definitely go ahead and send them as action items as well. Yep. All right.
I think we're right.
All right, cool. So back in our Newforma Project Center, if we take a look here, you'll notice to the right of your search field here, you have a drop-down menu. So this enables you to make the search as broad or as narrow as you need. The default is going to be searching within that current project, but you can search across any selected projects, any archived and offline projects, and you can narrow it right down to search just within your project email. So we'll take a look at that now. So these are those emails that have our search term within them that have been filed to the project by all different people on that project team. So from within Newforma, I'm going to be able to view these emails even if I'm not included as a recipient. Select an email to generate a preview in the window below, and you can see immediately my search term has been highlighted within that body of that email. If I take a look at a second one here, notice in this particular instance there's no highlighted search term within the body of the email, but my attachment's been highlighted. So this is indicating to me that the search term is actually within that attachment. By double clicking on it, I can open that PDF using my Newforma viewer, and you'll see again I get my list of instances over here on the left, in this case just one on page 1 of 4, and I can select that to zoom right in to my search term within that attachment. So simply by filing your emails, Newforma can index those along with any attachments to assist you with really rapidly locating that information. You actually don't even need to save those attachments out separately. They're going to be indexed as one regardless. Now, finally, with your emails here, if you wanted to respond to an email that's been filed by somebody else, you can simply go ahead and double click on that. That email will then open using Outlook, and you can go ahead and action that just as you would if you were in Outlook yourself. All very straightforward there. Now that we've had a bit of a look at some of the emails that you've got filed within Newforma, let's go ahead and flick over to Outlook, and we'll show you how you file your emails across to Newforma. So the first thing that you'll want to notice within Outlook is that you have a Newforma items to file folder listed over here on the left, and beneath that are project folders. So these project folders are set up, or they're generated and maintained by Newforma automatically, and they're based on that My Projects list that we saw at the beginning. So for each of those projects that I added to my favorites list, I've now got a corresponding project folder within my Outlook client. This is going to be one of the main reasons that you'll want to add projects to your My Projects list. There's a few different methods that you can use to file your emails. The first is very simply to select the email, drag it over and drop it into the corresponding project folder. Newforma is then going to take a copy of that email. It's going to file it to the project folder so that it can be indexed, enabling you to be able to rapidly search and retrieve information from it. And it's also going to be able to be viewed by the wider project team. So it's important to note that these folders over here are not storage folders. They're both processing folders. So by default, once that email has been filed, the email will then be moved to the deleted folder to assist with maintaining the size of your mailbox. You'll also notice in your Outlook that you have an add-in in the top menu bar. So for the next method, simply go ahead and select the email you wish to file. Let's choose a new one. And click on File in Project. Is it going to ask us to choose the project that we want to file it to? Again, I can use the drop down to access any recently visited projects or My Projects list. The three dots here enable me to browse out to locate that entire list of projects for the company. So I can access any other projects as well, and then go ahead and hit OK. So that option enables you to file an email without removing it from your inbox. You can see that it's still there in our inbox, but it's now been categorized as filed by Newforma. So you're going to be able to identify which emails you have been filed. If you do happen to file the same email twice, Newforma will recognize it as a duplicate, and it's only going to save one copy to the project. So if, for instance, 10 people on your team all receive the same email and everybody files that one email to the project, only one copy will be kept. Newforma does this by looking at the recipients, the subject, the body, and the date of that email. So if all four of these categories are the same, then Newforma will know it's a duplicate. So for you guys, the best practice will be just to file your emails regardless, and that will ensure that you've got all the correspondence saved back to the project. The final method that we have to file your emails is that Send and File in Project option, which you'll remember we used when we sent our screenshot of the markup earlier. So this option applies when you're either sending a brand new email or replying to an email or forwarding an email. So in this instance, if I go ahead and create a new email and enter some information in there, I can then again go ahead and select the Send and File in Project to send that email off and file it back directly to that project in that one process. Now, the Newforma add-in up the top here also gives you access to a few additional functions. You have the ability to both send and request files right from your email. This option is really perfect to use if you need to send or receive something like a large package of information and you want to track it using Newforma. All you need really is an email address. So to send files, very basically, go ahead and select a project that the files are, or the transfer is related to. Notice that some of these fields here have been pre-populated. Now these have been populated based on that email that I had selected when I chose to send files. You can definitely come in and overwrite any of that information if you wish. So that's not an issue either, but that's where that's arising from. Go ahead and add in any remarks that you have. Add some files to your transfer. And this final tab here enables you to set up some options with regard to when that file transfer will expire, and configure some reminders there as well. So you can configure that as you wish, then go ahead and hit OK to transfer those files. Really super simple and straightforward for you to send that information off. The other option is to request files. That process is very similar. Its only difference really is that the recipient will receive a link to upload files for you using your Info Exchange site, whereas when you're sending files, they're going to receive a link from you to download those files. So that's the difference there. Was there any questions on filing your emails?
What do you do with attachments?
Sorry, what was that?
Saving attachments? They get saved into Newforma. You don't have to save them separately, like they don't automatically save.
Was that where are you saving attachments?
Yeah, just one of the guys. Yeah, a bit of clarification on how to save attachments. It's just an automatic process.
So with your attachments, you don't technically, well, using Newforma, you don't have to save them out separately unless it's a requirement of yours within the office. Basically, Newforma is going to index any email along with any attachments as well. So they're going to be saved together over in your project folder. And you can find those just like we did earlier when we looked for concrete and we found it in that attached PDF. You're still going to be able to locate any information within those attachments. If, however, you do want to save your attachments out separately, you can use your File in Project option. And you can see right here that you have the option to save a copy of attachments separately. And then selecting that, you can choose where you want that attachment to be saved within your project folder. Does that answer your question? Yep.
So Emma, if we get a document set from an architect, we can have them as a record set so that they overwrite the different issues, or is that only if they're a Newforma client as well?
If you receive, there's a few different methods in how you can set that up, which I think will become a bit more clear when we talk about your document control activities and things like that. If you're receiving a set of current drawings from an architect and you want them to overwrite previous ones, how would you do that currently is the first question, because basically Newforma is it's not going to change any of your folder structures or where you save things. You'd still do that the same way. However, if you wanted to have those as a more formal issue, you could then put them into your document control. So there's a few different methods which we can run through with you. Today we're sort of more focusing on the more really basics, so guys can get up and running with your emails and your searching and all of that. But perhaps we can have a chat about that after if you want to clarify.
Okay.
All right. So that's a little bit about your emails and your searching. Basically, now I want to quickly flick back over and take a look at our project email activity center. So we've had a look at how to file them to our project. Let's take a look into that one now. So to get back to your project home, you can go ahead and select on your house here in the top menu bar. And from there, I can locate my project email activity center to pull up all of those emails that have been filed to this project by everybody on the project team. So you can see they're all from different people. Notice right up the top here, we can see that email that I just created and sent and filed right back to the project, so it's there immediately. You can see also by selecting any of these emails, I can generate that preview in the window below. And just like we saw before, if I double click on any of those, I can open that up using Outlook and go ahead and action that just as I am familiar with within my Outlook. So all very straightforward and familiar. In this drop-down menu at the very top here, you'll notice that currently I'm looking at all messages. So I've got 214 messages that I'm looking at, but I can also filter to just show my recent messages. So if I had thousands and thousands of emails, I could use that to assist me with only viewing the most current emails. And I think that by default, that's going to show you the most recent 1,000 messages. Right next to that drop down there, you have a little icon with a little group of people. So selecting this is going to enable you to toggle between viewing only your own messages and viewing the entire project team messages. Again, you have filters at the top of each column that you can go ahead and enter in more specific information. So perhaps if I knew I was looking for an email that came from Bob, I can enter in his name there to filter just to show emails from him. And maybe the email that I'm particularly interested in this instance is this work table wiring. And what I really want to know is whether there was any further communication that continued along this email thread. What I can do at this point is go ahead to my tasks panel and click on View Conversation. And what that's going to do is put that subject line into the subject filter and pull up, it's going to also remove any existing filters. So you can see I'm no longer filtered to show just Bob. So that enables me to see all the emails filed by anybody on the project team or sent by anybody on the project team that continued along that email thread. If I wanted to then return to the full list, I can simply toggle over here on the task panel to clear conversation. Now, if perhaps I came across an email that I really wanted to copy to my Outlook that somebody else had filed to the project, I can come in and select to copy to my mailbox. And what that's going to do is it's going to take a copy of that selected email and it's going to place it in a Newforma copied messages folder that's been set up in your Outlook client. I also have the ability to change the view or the view of how my page here is set up. So with my preview, I could turn it off completely. Maybe I'd like it to look a little bit more like my Outlook does. I could move that over to the right there. You can configure that as you wish. So that's your project email. Any questions on any of that side of your project email? No? All right. So, sorry, was that a question?
No, we're good.
No? Okay. All right. Well, to wrap up, the final topic that I really wanted to take you through today is really around the help resources. So first up, you'll notice on the left that you have your common questions. Selecting this is going to expand a list of common questions that are related to that specific page that you're on. And these questions act as direct links to the answers within the help website. You're also able to access the help website by clicking on this blue question mark in the top right-hand corner here. And Newforma by default is going to take you to help on that activity center that you're in. So it's taken me to project email help by default. Now, you'll notice also that you have access to a full learning module. The help guide is a really comprehensive and valuable resource for any user, but it also has a really great learning division here for you. So you have access to basic training for a new user. You have reference guides that you're able to print off and keep by your desk or just to keep saved somewhere to refer to. And you also have a whole collection of video tutorials. So as you start to get more familiar with the software, you can go through these video tutorials and start to learn a bit more at your own pace. The other option, if you have any issues that you can't find any answers to, you can always contact us at services@newforma.com and we'll be able to assist you. And there's also more recently been set up a customer community, which you guys can all become a part of. Basically in there are release notes, tips and tricks. All of our other customers go in there and ask questions. There's a lot of Q&A. There's also internal people who are offering advice and answers to questions there as well. So it's a really great resource for you and to interact with other customers as well. So aside from that, today we've had a look at getting started and adding projects to your My Projects list. We've talked about project files, the search function. We had a look at the viewer and completing markups, as well as email filing and management. Was there any questions at all on anything that we've been through today, or anything in Newforma in general?
There's lots of questions, Emma, but nothing that you've gone through today.
Okay, so what I might do is I'll stop the recording there, and then we can go ahead, and if there was further questions like the document control type 1, then we can listen to that. We can take a look at that next.
Okay.
All right.